You'll see it on video.
I think the weather might have been a contributing factor today. In all fairness.
It's gorgeous. Okay, Josh was here, so we can start.
Yes.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Darren. Good.
Hey, Darren. I'm just gonna hang out in your room.
Okay. Oh, okay. Hi. My name is Darren Good, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about the call to UX leadership. And based on the topic alone, it is the least sexiest of the topics that we have here today. It is the least stereotypical, and not to my horn is just a fact. It is the most critical, and you'll find out why momentarily. People are going to they either get it today or you're going to get it later. But to not get this topic, and it's beautiful that it piggybacks on what he just did, piggybacks on what Dr. Sherman just did. This is part of what's missing. You can almost think of this as a sequel to what Dr. Sherman was talking about earlier, because the UX world, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's dive in. Just a little bit of background from me. I usually like to put something more personal in here, so I'm going to get on and get off of this very, very quickly. But just so you understand a little bit about me from a professional standpoint, these are just a few of the places where I've left my mark over the course of my 20 years of HCI, IA, that great term that we all love so dearly, UX and things of that nature. But so I get around, as you can see. But not that important. Let's deal with the subject at hand. The first thing, when I started thinking about this topic, the first thing that came to mind for me is the question, simply, what is leadership? And of course, there's a stereotypical aspect of leadership, which I'll cover in a moment, and then there's the one that we really need to grasp. So I'm going to go beyond this quickly, because we have a really long segment at the end. I want to make sure we spend the bulk of our time there. First definition, the stereotypical one, the one that if you went and did a Family Feud survey says, number one answer would have had to do with exercising authority over other people or groups. This is what everybody thinks leadership is, which is one of the reasons why, probably why not a lot of people decided to come to this session, because they think they know what it is to be a UX leader. I guarantee you that they do not. In all the years I've been doing this, I just found out a few years ago. We tend to get our wireframes, and we get our site maps, and we're happy, and we ride off into the sunset, only to experience a problem that I want to share with you.
So more people are considering that a boss, not what they would look for in a leader.
Exactly. And it's wrong. It's wrong. Definition number 2, guiding or directing a group. Close to the stereotype, true. They're both true. But there's more. Operating with authority. You consider that a part of leadership. Influencing others. Definitely. The next one is the one that we really need to make sure that we embrace and understand, and it's the one that we're going to be speaking about mostly throughout the duration of this presentation, and that is setting the pace or example for others to follow. This is leadership, and people do not realize it, and so there's a lot of missed opportunities, there's a lot of misinterpreted actions, things of that nature, and you're going to understand why this not taking place is such a problem today. Why is leadership important? It's critical for the following reasons. It helps us to set examples that needs to be followed. Remember, UX is basically only a 20-year-old field as a whole, and it did not mature into what we today know as UX until about 8, 9 years ago. Only 8 or 9 years ago. So that sort of answers some of the questions up front. It's so new, somebody's got to lead the way. We can set examples when we do such things. Helps us to learn from those who have preceded us and grow. This is another dysfunctional element in the UX world, because a lot of the so-called UX professionals today are trying to act like those who preceded them do not exist. And it's growing. It's growing. The instances that take place are growing. It facilitates efficiency in how we operate as UX people. When we do function as leaders, why Leadership is critical because those who do then follow our recommendations, follow our lead, are able to achieve levels of efficiency that otherwise are completely unattainable. Just simply can't do it. Keep people from spinning their wheels. When there is no leadership, when everybody pretty much is just operating in the realm of subjectivity and doing what they want to do, people are busy, but people are not really accomplishing anything, not what they could. Had they followed somebody that's been there, done that, and actually knows that they've had the triptych before they know what's going on. And then it delivers us from dangers and pitfalls. A lot of people don't see the UX world as consisting of dangers and pitfalls, but those of us that have been around for practically any length of time know better than that. There are a lot of dangers, a lot of pitfalls, a lot of issues, and you need leadership to help you get around those things, just from point A to point B and not zigzagging your way. The leaders can help us to avoid the zigzags. Now, why is leadership important for the UX professional? And this is where from here, want to dive into what you might consider to be, again, another stereotypical element on why we actually have the problem. I want to paint a nice, strong picture of the problem. If I was to take a poll, which I'm not going to do right now, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of time, so I'm not going to do it. I would. We know what the standard deliverables are for people in the UX world. And when I say UX, I'm talking about the overarching umbrella that houses several different archetypes, disciplines, methodologies, things of that nature. We've got our wireframes, we've got our site maps, we've got our user stories, we've got our journey maps, our task flows, we've done our user testing, and we are happy. We enjoy what we do, we immerse ourselves in it, we get our degrees, we do whatever. Problem is, it's not enough. This relatively new field is actually, I referred to any of you that follow me on LinkedIn, we were talking about that earlier, you know that I'm a known ranter about this topic. And we're under siege for this reason. We left the back door open. We got so caught up in our deliverables that we didn't lead. Now, everybody who's buzzword happy, which is human nature, you come across something that sounds good, you jump on it. Nobody needs to know anything about it. When the internet came along, we all jumped on it. You probably did like me. You got your first computer, you were happy about your 25 megabyte hard drive. You probably remember that? And you got an AOL CD, and it came installed, so you figured that must be the only way to get on the internet. We were ignorant. We had no idea about anything. We just dove in. Well, the truth is, everybody does it without leadership. And when you found out that, hey, there are alternatives. Here's CompuServe. So you maybe went over there. You found out about some other venue to connect to the internet, and you went that way. As we continue to learn and evolve and grow, then we started to wrap our minds around other things. But people that don't and are operating in this intellectual anarchy, if you will, they just run off. And so we're getting caught up similarly in all these things, but all these other people that found out about UX as a buzzword, they don't know what UX is. They don't know how to judge UX professionals. One of the things I didn't put in the slide, but I'll interject it here, is that initially, actually it is going to be in the next slide, so I'm going to hold off and talk about it there. I was just reminded, I almost made a mistake. But this is a problem, because now you got everybody's coming in the back door, and they have no idea what UX is. They're interviewing all the wrong people. I just rejected three resumes this week for people who claim to have UX experience. They have nothing. But these people are being hired everywhere. One of my peers, Carl Smith, a gentleman from overseas in England, he told the story. And again, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you see he responded. One person said that, a developer said, if I put UX on my resume, I'll get an extra $300 a week. They're doing it here too. And it's arisen to such an epidemic proportion, such epidemic levels, that now people are blowing off real UX professionals. And again, so I don't go on too much of a rant there, it's because we left the back door open. We need leadership. We need leadership. Let's go through a little history lesson. And this is where I almost got ahead of myself. Just as a reminder to some, and maybe I'll inform others. Mid-90s, you guys know what that is, right? Everybody know Donald Norman? The person who coined the phrase user experience was working. It's really small, I know. It's really small. But you won't need to see, I'll explain it. And you get a copy of it if you want it, and I'll send you a copy of it. But Donald Norman, we know who he is though. He's the guy, while he was working at Apple, he coined the phrase user experience. And he did a great job at it. Not only did he coin the phrase, he defined it. How many people are just seeing his little 2-minute video on what user experience is, where he explains what it is? It is a holistic approach that's talking about how people are engaging with your products and services, holistically giving it attention. It's not about interfaces. It's not limited to digital. Matter of fact, when he coined it, he wasn't even focusing on digital. He was focusing on everything, some of which we now know today as CS. He would refer to it as UX back in the day. But at any rate, he's the one that started it all. So UX is becoming big, it's taken off. It started off mostly as IAs. Most of us were known as information architects, even though we were doing research and everything else. I actually was the one driving for the title change back in Metro Detroit, which is where I'm from, because hey, we're doing research, we're doing strategy, we're doing all of these things. We're not just information architects. So they changed it. I was responsible for the name being changed at 2 different companies because it's more descriptive. But the whole time when I see it user experience, I'm thinking like Norman. I'm thinking holistically. Everybody wasn't with me. Back then, the digital agencies were the places that mostly, not entirely, they didn't have a monopoly on the UX positions, but most of them were in the agency world. So I've got the Digitas LBI, although it was just Digitas back then. You know, we got MRM McCann, which is MRM Worldwide. They just changed their name recently. You love how they change names all the time. Sapient Nitro, I think they changed their name now too. They merged with somebody else. But if you wanted to get involved in this arena and you wanted to do it right, and when you walked through the door, everybody understood what you brought to the table, that's where you went to work. Something happened though. Study was done, ironically, by people in this arena. Most notably, it was NASA and IBM who did a study. And the studies were slightly different, so I'm going to speak of it in summative terms. For every dollar, they make this discovery. For every dollar you invest in UX, you get $10 to $100 return on that investment, right? So these guys, their eyes get big, because when you start talking dollars, they're all over the place. Now these guys did it because they understood how important it was to the design process. They did it right. The people in the corporate world, they just got involved because it was a buzzword. They found out that you could get a lot of return on investment with, so we're going to dive in. They never got educated. And in fact, quite frankly, and I don't care who sees this tape, they still aren't educated on it. It's still ridiculous. I work for IBM. They still don't know what UX is. I know people that work for GE. I've seen people. I've screened resumes from people who've been through some of these places. They still don't know what user experience is. And some of the people that they're hiring, it's an absolute joke. I get comic relief from looking at jobs on LinkedIn and from screening resumes because it's an absolute joke. So between here and here, you got a major problem. That's where the disconnect began. There was no misunderstanding of UX when everything was mostly housed in this arena. But now, I just showed four up there. Companies everywhere, the corporate world at large, has found out that user experience helps the business. Never mind getting educated on what it is. Let's just get it in here. So the back door, as I said, the back door is open. But the back door wasn't necessarily just open because of what was happening up there. It was happening because we were down here drunk off of our wireframes and our prototypes. And not foreseeing the danger that we needed to also engage in education. We needed to be leaders. We needed to set a tempo, if you get my drift, as I mentioned earlier. So now they're all over the place, and everybody's hiring. Like the story I told you from Mr. Smith, people are throwing UX on their resume because it's a buzzword, it's going to get you extra money, and they threw another few extra buzzwords there to help out, a little wireframe here, a little prototype there, you know, and now everybody's going to think you're a UX person. So now you got all these people who don't deserve to be here, but they're getting the jobs. And now you got this big ruckus that's going on in the U.S. industry. And now it's 2017. The phrase UX was coined approximately 22 to 23 years ago. We think we've gotten somewhere. Is it a great time to be in UX? Yes, it is. Is it a dangerous time to be in UX? You bet your bottom dollar it is. Because we never led anybody, now we've got people all over the place and we're grossly outnumbered. I mean, it's happening faster than you realize. That we've got all these people everywhere claiming to be UX professionals, and they're not. They don't even come close. There was one person once that I screened a resume. He said that I've got 10 years of UX experience. I looked at his resume. You know where I'm going. And I looked at his portfolio, which had all of 2 screenshots, both from the same project. And my summation was that this guy had about 10 minutes of UX experience. But these people are getting hired. And they're getting hired before you. Because these people up here don't want to pay you. These guys, I showed them this kind of funny. The people up there don't want to pay. They don't understand, they don't want to pay, and they're willing to do the political thing and fill a position, even though it's just a body. And oh, by the way, that ROI, that formula is true. For every dollar you get X on return, asterisk, only if you have a real UX professional in the role. So they're not going to get what they're looking for anyway. And long story short, which is going to come up again later, that's going to result in UX becoming devalued. The question is, how many years is it going to take? So I think I hope I'm painting the picture enough for you to recognize how dangerous of a season this is, because these people are everywhere. And they're telling these people that you don't know what UX is. And because they don't know how to judge, these guys are going to get away with what they tell them, and it's going to lead. Now, there will be no back door. Forget about the back door being open. The back door was ripped off, is essentially what's going on. So I want to try to help us today. So some people that make it, okay, hopefully they see the video later, because this is, I mean, I've been on a mission with this thing. He can attest. He's seen my posts. She hears me all the time talking about this stuff. It is a problem. Well, one person said, Darren, yeah, he told me, he said, for your own mental health, you should stop. No. For my own mental health, I must continue. As another one of my former students, I'm an adjunct here also at Kent, Bobby Burdett. Hey, Bobby, you may go see the video. He said, we got to keep fighting the good fight. We got to. Because if you don't, not only did you leave the door open, you gave them the key. And then they're going to change it on you. And then they're going to close the door. And it's going to be crazy. I want to talk about these 3 things. I want to talk about, just quickly, I just want to plant some seeds to give me some things to think about. I'll elaborate on a couple as we go. First, I want to talk about 10 risk factors. What happens? I've elaborated on some of them already, so maybe a little redundant, but I'm not worried about that. 10 risk factors associated with what happens when you don't provide leadership. 12 ways to provide leadership. Remember, we're not trying to be domineering. We're just trying to set tempo. We're trying to set the direction that people should go in. Even just helping people getting started with design thinking will help you to, especially if you're in a company like I am, where I'm responsible also for institutionalization of UX. I have to help everybody change their mind. And when you're in an engineering-heavy company, you had better do that. Or else. If you work for a creative company, you're in heaven. Even if the creative people want to hang you by the street pole, so to speak, you're still in heaven when it comes to doing this kind of work. When you're with the engineers, everybody's like, I literally have seen people go the other way when they see me coming down the hall because they don't want to engage. So these battles are real, but that's another topic. Lastly, I want to talk about 8 things you can do and 8 things that I do. And some of you guys are probably already doing some of these things, but it doesn't hurt to hear it again, right? 8 things you can do in order to develop your leadership skills, and we'll summarize everything at the end. So, what are the risks? I love that picture. And I'll leave it up there for extra 10 seconds. So I like the picture. Number one, when you don't provide leadership, you really are going to fail to positively impact stakeholders, and you're going to fail to impact management. And whether you realize it or not, they've got this running value meter on UX. So if you're not shaping it by carrying yourself as a leader, you're contributing to the problem. And they are in the process. The more of these like cultures and retrofits, and by cultures I mean people that are faking, flat out faking it. By retrofits, I'm talking about that person at your job, and I've seen it before, who literally comes down the hall and they just slap the title UX on them and throw them in a position. They don't know a thing. This has literally happened. One big company that I will not name, I'm not going to do the talk, like Dr. Sherman did earlier, I'm not going to do it this time, but a big Fortune 50 company, somebody walked into the room and told a room full of CAD designers that they were UX designers going forward. This is happening. Then they get promoted to senior because they've been there for 2 years. Now you're going after a senior position, they're going after a senior position, and they're $15,000 cheaper than you because they have no idea what the salary range is. Guess who's going to get the job? We have to make sure that we're giving this information and helping the stakeholders and the management to cultivate a sense of what UX really is so they can judge properly and value you and value the work as a whole. Because you owe it to you and you owe it to your team to do this. You miss opportunities to drive adoption for UX. I mentioned working in an engineering-driven company. And so when you're responsible for institutionalization, you have to help people embrace the fact that UX has value, and that you can't be domineering, you can't be overbearing, you cannot shove UX down their throat, you can't hide behind the water fountain and pounce on people, so to speak. You got to do it in a patient, easy to be treated manner. And so you want to build on adoption, but you do it by being a leader. Again, we'll get to that at the end. Number 3, it fosters or furthers misunderstanding of UX and its value. A little redundant on that, but people are not going to know what UX is if you don't walk as a leader. Next, indirectly drives people from the core of UX's purpose and benefit. If you don't function as a leader, again, it's a little redundant, but it's slightly different. There's enough there to split hairs with it in a profitable way. If people don't know what the benefits or purpose of UX, they don't know what they are, so you're going to have a very difficult time operating. Time comes for company cuts. And I watched the same thing happen when I was in instructional design. So, and I never would have expected to see it again. It's happening again. This time I'm on the front end of it. Before I was on the back end, so it was easy to get out because I hadn't invested that many years in instructional design. I mortgaged my future on UX. I'm not going to sit by and watch this happen. But it is in motion. It is indeed in motion. So I make sure that people understand the purpose and benefit of UX. Number 5. Already talked about this a little bit, but it opens the door for closers. And here's the big one. It makes people think anybody can do UX. Have you guys seen this? You've been in a meeting with somebody and you say something and they try to like toe-to-toe with you? Oh, no, I looked at Google. What? You know, how many sites did you look at before you gave your recommendation? 50? 100? Anybody know what I'm talking about? You look at all these things because you're trying to substantiate everything that you say, and then there's one person, I look at Google. There was a study that was done by Vitamin T. 97% of the UX on the web is wrong. So somebody comes and they show you one thing. What has that done? Well, created this wrong. And then they'll hire anybody too. Throw an intern in there, they'll hear. Hate your stuff. Detrimentally impacts your maturity level. How many of you have, anybody ever done any maturity level study? There's a great report on the Nielsen on NNG Group site that talks about not only maturity levels, but how long it takes for a company. We can't be caught. So this is part of the problem. We were caught up in our wireframes. We were caught up with our projects too. The company needs to mature. It's not enough for your project to be successful. The company needs to be successful. You'll fool around and get caught up because you're frustrated about what's happening, so you're looking at joining another company. How long is that going to take? We have to be committed to driving a good maturity level with our company, But if we're not functioning as leaders, it's going to suffer. Number 7, it'll shorten the shelf life. If they don't learn to value UX, if you're not a leader, let me back up. If you're not a leader, then the company is not going to value UX because they don't see it as something that needs to be done. They don't see how it's going to drive success in any other project. And eventually, somebody's going to get an epiphany and decide that UX is no longer needed. And some companies have done that too. In fact, some companies are using design thinking to push UX professionals out. They're using product managers to push UX professionals out because we're sitting there with the back door open doing a dance around our wireframes. It's not enough. It's not enough. The products, if you don't function as a leader, if you're an order taker, for example, UX professionals are not order takers. I want you to do this, this, and this. The first thing out of my mouth should be a 3-letter word, a fantastic 3-letter word. Why? We need to understand if we just do exactly what we're told, we're not being leaders. And now there's no difference between you and the developer. There's no difference between you and the product manager. There's no difference between you and quite frankly, the butt-kissing person is just trying to get a big promotion. You can't be afraid to push back. You just have to learn how to do it diplomatically. With the products, if you don't, the products, you're going to do exactly what they said, and nobody wants it. And not only does nobody want it, it's not going to function the way anybody needs it to function, so it's going to be flawed. You'll call stakeholders and executives to view UX as an option or a luxury. Nobody's going to adopt. So when you lead, you have to continuously drive the mindset that UX is a necessity, and you have to continuously demonstrate its value. Don't just assume everybody's going to take your face down. And point number 10, it detracts from customer experience and brand experience. And I have a little formula I like to use, or an equation, that UX plus CX equals BX. So user experience plus customer experience equals brand experience. You don't have to drive brand experience. You're going to have a brand experience. You make sure that you drive your UX and optimize it, and optimize your customer experience. You get to the voice of the customer and a lot of other different data and things associated with where the customer stands with regard to your products and services. If you take care of those 2 things, your BX will be high. If your UX is off, your CX is automatically going to be off, and your BX is going to be terrible, and the company's going to lose money, and then you didn't do anything, so you're going to lose your job on top of other things. So next, how do we provide leadership? I tried to really paint a very serious problem so we can have a mindset where we're willing to take action. So how can you and I provide leadership? Number 1, accurately define what UX is. First thing you can do, and usually take care of a lot of problems just by this one thing, it's not UI. A lot of people think that UX is UI. You can just take care of that right up front. Just find ways to make sure it's not UI. I had the title once. It was wrong. When I worked for Cengage, I was a senior UX UI designer. Okay, I took it because, okay, all right, but oh well, here we go again, because now we're using UI, UX/UI, and now we're feeding into the misappropriations just by title. But we work with it. I drove a lot of value, so it was one of those things I had to settle with. But make sure you define it accurately. Evangelize. You have become a preacher. I don't care what you think about religion or any religion or what for that matter. If you're a UX professional, you're a preacher, if you're going to be a leader. Because you're going to constantly have to sing the praises of what UX is, what it brings to the table. And of course, you can't do that without getting educated yourself. Whatever those things are. I'll share some of that, how you can help do that later. Number 3, validate all your recommendations. I'll never forget being in a meeting once at another unnamed company, and I gave a recommendation, and somebody said, well, that's your opinion. I said, no, that's an expert opinion. There's a difference. I said what it is, and then I gave you 8 reasons that validated that. So we have to validate everything we say. Don't just give an opinion, because you're no different than Joe Blow that just went by the word fountain and happened to stop in the meeting and had something to say. The UX professional validates everything. We say nothing without proof. That's one of the things that sets us apart from everybody. Strive to be ahead of the curve when it comes to what's coming down the pipe. This is going to tie into something I'm going to mention later about personal learning networks. You shouldn't be surprised. I used to work on interactive TV stuff, when it was first getting hot. UX is starting to expand way outside the digital world now. Don't wait for your job to give you something to help expand your horizons. I don't care what you do. If you got to look at your own microwave, your own alarm clock, your own dashboard, your own car, make sure that your skills, make sure you're getting ahead of the game. Find the articles. Subscribe to different channels on YouTube that are giving you insights about these things. There's a whole UX channel with TEDx that you can just find out what these people are talking about and get ahead of the game. So that way, when you go to the meeting and that thing comes up, you already have some value that you can bring. You don't have to go back and be reactive to everything. Number 5, stress partnership with stakeholders. I mentioned earlier, you can't shove things down people's throats, right? Be a partner. Make sure that they know that you're not a threat. Make sure they know. And don't put on the front. Genuinely. Be willing to help. Find out how to bring value. Find out where to bring value. And then bring that value, right? Bring it. But don't be domineering and walking down the hall. I don't know why. Maybe I watch too much Family Guy, but I see a UX person walking down the hall with a robe and 5 people behind him carrying the robe and all this kind of stuff, and holding their crown and taking it off. And he says one thing and disappears, floats back into the sunset, that kind of stuff. If you get my drift, you can't have a holier than thou or mightier than thou kind of persona and win over stakeholders. They need to know that you're partnering with them. So this is about relationship management, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit too. Number 6, showcase UX's value. When you have wins, every time you have a win on your projects, I don't know if you've got the intranet site, if you don't have one, find a way to build one, do something, and toot your department's horn. Talk about what has happened. I actually set up a monthly now at Bosch where I'm actually having people that I've done projects with come and present. They're going to come in and talk about what UX has done for them. We're going to start taping these things. We're going to start just circulating them throughout the company because we want more people to adopt and we want more people to understand. Most importantly, we have to do this in somewhat of, I hate to say this, but it's a passive kind of some people might call it passive aggressive, but it's an absolute necessity. And you're going to hear about that again here too later. There's got to be a way to let people know, to woo people in. You got to have a way to woo people in. You got to have a way to show them, this is what I'm about to get at. Keep letting them know that they can't do this. You got to keep letting people know, you cannot do what we did. You cannot do it. And as long as they think they can, then you're going to be competing. You're going to be competing, and you don't have time to compete. That's much more important. Next, be committed to earning trust. Just because you're the UX manager, the senior UXer, the lead UXer, whatever your title is, I don't know why sometimes, and I think we all may have done it at some point in time, we think we come in, here's the other thing, we have confidence about what we do. And we walk in and we expect other people, I think, I gotta back up. You have confidence in what you do, and you have confidence in what the other people in the room do. And you expect them to respond to you the way that you're responding to them. Well, newsflash, they likely won't. You have to earn it. You have to earn their trust. Remember, UX just came in from Asgard as far as they know. It just came out of nowhere. This is what people are actually still saying. That, like, somebody just told me last week, well, you know, UX is just brand new. Everything that we're doing is brand new. Yeah, why it felt so funny. UX is brand new, so people need to learn how to get along with it. It's true. It is. For that reason, you have to earn trust. People are not going to automatically, oh, there's a new UX guy. We need to listen. How many people do you really think are going to respond like that? In your workplace? They're not. Be ready to earn the trust, and you're going to need some patience to get there. That's where emotional intelligence comes into play. Again, too. Number 8, support the growth of your up-and-coming peers. Peer development is critical. If you have the ability to help other people get stronger, sharper, better, do it. Set up whatever kind of internal network you have to do. And here's something I love as a UX professional, the time that we set aside to get together with other UX professionals. I don't care whether it's a half hour or an hour, it's invigorating. Because we take so many beatings, and we fight so many battles, and so unappreciated, misunderstood. To get in a room with everybody, with 4 or 5 people who know what you know and do what you do, is a life-giving force. So help to develop those that are coming up behind you, if you haven't. Number 9, if you have institutionalization responsibility, if you're helping your company transition into being a design-led company, and by the way, reports have stated that design-led companies outperform their competitors. I believe that there's 3 different reports I've seen. 2, so I'm just going to throw one number out there. It's probably an average of the 3, 228%. That's why a lot of these companies want to become design-led, because of the ROI factor, once again. So design thinking, helping people transition into design thinking and doing it in a way where it becomes infectious, where other people just start jumping on board, you can function as a leader by sparking them. This is what I mentioned earlier in a sense, but a little bit different. This is one place where being passive is good. Pick your battles and excel at it. You cannot fight. You will never win every battle, and we should not fight every battle. Find out what are your nice to haves. I know I'm preaching to the choir on this one, but what are your need to haves? What are your nice to haves? Pick your battles. Some battles, just let them happen. You're not going to win all the battles anyway. And we should not be married to our designs either. And how many times have people ever done everything you said anyway? So pick your battles. Remember that you're there to advocate for the user. You're the voice of the user. The user can't be in the meeting. And the user doesn't have a whole lot of control, so we shouldn't be trying to exercise a lot of control. Quite frankly, so pick your battle. Be constructive in your passiveness. Think things through. Demonstrate an entrepreneurial mindset. That was funny. I always have people when I do talks proofread my stuff, and somebody wrote me back, and I'm saying this because somebody's probably thinking the same thing here. Somebody said, "You have a typo on that slide, number 11." No, I don't. It's entrepreneurial. It's not entrepreneurial. Some people don't know what it means to be entrepreneurial. You can function. A lot of companies allow you to function in a way that you're essentially setting up a business inside of your own company that you work for. That's what it means to be entrepreneurial. And UX operations, because it's so new, because it's somewhat siloed, because we're left to do our own thing, a lot of times, when you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you run that thing like it's your business, and you're going to find a lot of success. And you'll get a seat at the table. You'll eventually get a seat at the table because of the sense of ownership that comes with having an entrepreneurial mindset. Yes, sir. I see you chomping at the bit. Were you about to say something? Oh, no, I was just thinking. Okay. Number 12 on ways to provide, eliminate personal bias. This one's not popular at all. And one of the reasons why, because people think, somebody was actually talking about bias earlier today, and I bit my tongue because I have a lot to say about bias. I'm going to refrain from doing it here. What I will say is this. Discipline, which you're going to find out shortly, is one of the major facets of emotional intelligence. If you cannot take your bias, identify them, and turn them off, you are not going to excel as a UX professional. You have to be able to turn bias off. It's not about you. You're not your user. It's never about you. How you feel about anything is worth about 2 cents in a trash can, so to speak. It's worthless. So you can develop skill where you can completely shut your bias down. One of the comments that was made earlier about when you're listening to data and how you could have selective bias. I think some of you were in that. And I bit my tongue because in a former life, I was a legal transcriptionist. I know you wouldn't think that or look at me. But I have a long-standing discipline of recording exactly what people say. I can actually do it when I'm typing too. And you had to, when you were a transcriptionist, you had to process what you were typing. And so I learned how to do what was said earlier when you're writing. I learned how to do it when I'm typing. I've been typing as fast as 120 words a minute over the years, so I'm not going to write. I can't read my own writing anyway. So, so you'll always see me typing because I call it a statute of limitations. I got 30 minutes to remember what I wrote, or it's over. So I type everything. So that actually, not knowing that this was going to happen to me, it gave me the ability to shut off bias. I'm willing to incriminate myself if I'm wrong. See, eliminating bias is about integrity. And simply tell me what you see. He has on a purple, I forgot what they call it, cortisone. It is what it is. One of the biggest things that UX has at its advantage is the power of objectivity and integrity. Remember, nobody has to listen to anything you say unless you substantiate it. That always told me that integrity was a big part of what UX is. And because of that, you do not have to be biased. I actually was working on a project once with somebody who wanted me to look at his design. I'll say this part and I'll get off of this one. And he said, I want you to take a look at this and let me know what you think there. But I'm going to cover up the top of it because I don't want to activate your bias. I said, there is no bias. Oh, no, everybody's got bias. No, we don't. We don't. I know how to turn it off. I turn off the faucet of water. And I eventually, I don't even have any bias. I want to win for the customer. I want to win for the user. Who cares if I like blue? What does that have to do with anything? Who cares if I like a particular font? Who cares? As long as it's not serif, who cares? In a digital experience. Heuristics is all about doing things in accordance with a bunch of best practices and proven methodologies and approaches. It has nothing to do with bias. Get rid of the bias. If you want to be a leader, lose it. Less of you, more of what works. That's what we want. And next, you want to know how to develop? This is how you do it. Sharpen your collaborative song. This is really important, and you would never believe it. I'm actually shy. Every time I tell somebody that, they laugh, and we don't laugh. I'm actually shy. I learned how to talk out of necessity. When I wrap my mind around necessity, it's no longer about me. It's about what needs to be done. So, and I say that because some people don't collaborate because they don't draw energy from or benefit from the peer reviews and things of that nature. I'm also a staunch ISTJ, for those of you that know what Myers-Briggs is. So I don't draw energy from other people. I'm introverted in the perspective that all I need to know is what you need me to do, and I just don't do it. Not introverted in get away from me, I don't want to be around anybody, being a hermit. It's introverted in what pushes you, what motivates you. I'm motivated by purpose. I'm motivated by the deliverable. I'm motivated by wanting to be successful. So, but I still knew that collaboration is a key to being a leader. You have to learn how to interact. You have to develop those relationships with people. You have to learn how to shut up and listen. And collaboration is all of those things revolve around collaboration. You may have some good ideas, but somebody else might have one better than yours. That's like I pretty much guarantee you somebody might. So when we embrace those principles, those truths, then we can get better at collaboration. Number two, and somebody mentioned this earlier. I can't remember, I think it was Dr. Sherman mentioned it earlier about being criticized. Seek opportunities to be criticized. Look for it. Tie yourself in knots. Matter of fact, here's a good one. Everybody got somebody that doesn't like it. We all have an enemy, so to speak. Take your work to your enemy. That person that you don't like to hear talk, but you know they have good ideas, that person that's overbearing, the person that's arrogant, take them to your work. Not only are you going to grow from a collaborative area, but it's going to help you to be more ready, position of readiness to receive criticism. Number three, grow your non-UX IQ. And when I say that, I'm specifically talking about your company's culture. It's great that you can sit around and do all your prototypes and your wireframes and all of those things. However, Your stakeholders and the executives don't know any of that stuff. And so if you don't learn how to communicate with them in a way that matters to them and communicate using knowledge that's relevant, then you're going to run into some issues. When you know more about your company's culture, they see you as more of an asset instead of just that UX guy or that UX gal. So that's critical. Number 4, on the same line as that one, all company-oriented training, especially the we joke and call them brainwashing sessions sometimes, the company brainwashing sessions, dive in. So you can get, again, a stronger understanding of what it means to work for that company and how that company thinks. Factor that into the way that you operate, the way that you communicate. Number 5, and this is on the same line, so a little redundant, but that's okay. Learn to speak what I call exact. You got your UX lingo, you got it down pat. I'm sure if we're done here today, we can sit around and talk for hours and tell war stories, success stories, or whatever, and just talk about different things. And we would just enjoy the time would fly. Bring an executive that doesn't know anything about UX into that conversation, where do you go? We need to learn how to speak their language. And the more we learn how to speak exact, the better and the more we develop as leaders. Number 6, continuously develop your emotional intelligence. And by that, I mean not just empathy. Empathy went without saying. This is one of my absolute favorite topics. I read this about this stuff as much as I can. But introspection. How much time do you take really examining you and working to make you better? That's part of it. Discipline. How disciplined are you? Like I said, you should be able to turn your bias off. If you can't do it that one day, that's fine. But the mere fact is you take a look at yourself and recognize it and are committed to getting better, then you're on your way. Good. That's fine. Still empathy. You know about that. How good are your communication skills? And that's not inclusive of just talking. It's the first thing I always talk about, your ears are above your mouth. So we're meant to listen before we start jib-jabbing. So let's make sure that we're really good at listening and make sure that we understand what we've heard before we take action. We want our actions to be on point, and you don't want to have to do things 3 times if you don't have to. Find out what you need to do it once. Relationship management. How good are you here? Strong emotional intelligence component. How resilient are you? When things don't go your way, how good are you at getting back up? And it's funny, when a lot of people talk about emotional intelligence, resilience gets left off of the list. You want, on your team, if you're hiring somebody, you want a resilient person. You need to be resilient. Don't give up. It's okay to feel bad about what happened. It's okay to be sad about what happened. It's okay to be frustrated about what happened. But get back up. Get back up. There's another day. And learn. Learn from what happened. Learn what knocked you down here in the first place. And get up. And civility. I love this. Be civil. Train the people in your team, on your teams to be civil, to treat everybody with dignity and respect and honor, no matter who they are or what they are. None of those things matter. Civility is critical. It's critical to being successful here. And there are other elements, a few other elements associated with emotional intelligence, which brings us to this commercial on emotional intelligence. I just wanted to, Dr. Sherman was talking about this so much earlier that I wanted to share some books that I highly recommend. This one I'm recommending just because of the rating on it. The other 5, I own all of them. And this is my absolute favorite book. I love the 5 dysfunctions of a team and have fought to fought against those dysfunctions on a regular basis. This book is a wonderful read. It's a series of articles that appeared in Harvard Business Review over the years about emotional intelligence. So you can take in an article at a time. Travis Bradbury, this is fantastic stuff. Lots of different exercises and thoughts. Jeannie Siegel's book is fantastic. This stuff is just wonderful. Matter of fact, and Bradbury, you can follow him on LinkedIn, so he's always sharing all types of emotional intelligence, little quips on LinkedIn on a regular basis, so I highly recommend his book. Number 7, be dedicated to esteeming the value of your peers. Be dedicated to that. This is something that's real big in today's what I call a hostile UX world, where the posers and the retrofits, I didn't mention this earlier, if you have skill, they don't like you. Because You are exposing them, whether you mean to do it or not. You're belittling them, whether you meant to do it or not. You're showing them as being incompetent, which is true, whether you mean to do it or not. Instead of them seeing that you're a senior and that they can ride your coattail and actually transition from being a poser to a real practitioner, they'd rather throw you under the bus. And so make sure that you're in the business of esteeming your team. Don't invite that dysfunction into your team. It's going to keep you from getting work done. It's going to drive down your team's value. It's going to create some problems. And when you don't esteem the value of your peers, you're not getting them. Number 8, you want to make sure you have a strong personal learning network. What sites do you go to? I love PLN concept. What websites do you have listed as your go-to? I must go here. I get so much from my UX Matters is my absolute favorite. I met Pavini, he'll be writing for him soon. I keep holding off because I want to write something fantastic for him. But I know Pavini, I met her in San Francisco. Great person, great site. They have the absolute best articles on UX on the entire internet. Smashing Magazine tried, but they hit this. They hit this. UX Matters. What authors? I showed you some of the books on emotional intelligence. What YouTube channels that I mentioned earlier. What learning resources? Put together a learning network for you that you can help so that you can always go back to the well and get something to help you develop. That's going to help you thrive as a leader. So, to wrap it up, we'll put a fork in it here. And I'm going to close with just a few statements. Number 1, and yes, I did create this. This is a work, this is actually an earlier rendition of my putting together different UX archetypes in the deliverables. Some of you may have followed me on LinkedIn. You may have seen the later version. It's actually larger. This was my first draft. But what it is, and you can't read it, and it's not meant for you to read it. It's meant to illustrate how large the world of UX really is. You can't read a thing up here, but this is huge. This is UX. I post things about UX. Oh, that's not true. That's because they're defining UX as something over here in this little quadrant, and I'm defining it as this. So you'll never understand it the way I do because you're looking at it from a completely different angle. So I understand that you don't get it because you've only been doing it for 3 years and you work for mom and pop kettle, during that time. So you're not going to get it. But the landscape needs navigation. That's going to be done by leaders, right? It's going to be done by leaders. A UXer, please know, people don't realize it. It's partly due to all the bolters and retrofits, but contrary to popular belief, UX professionals are leaders. We are. As you enter into the field, as you expand your footprint, please know, you are indeed a leader. Don't think you're anything less. So aspire. Don't just be on the team. Don't just be happy with your paycheck. A lot of people are dependent on you. We're setting the pace. UX should be viable in 10 to 15 years. At the pace we're going, we're under stage. And if we don't step up and be leaders, it's going to be a problem. So aspire to be such a leader. So that is it. Connect with me. I'm all over the place. So connect with me. A lot of those tweets will be redundant, but so you can follow me at Darren Good, at BGoodCat, and then I just started a consultancy called Merge Rex. You can connect with me there. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, I'm easy to find. But all that's it. I'm done. Well, I don't know if I have time for questions or not. I saw people hovering. Let's steal questions. Nobody say anything. Any questions? Anybody? Yes, is that?
Yeah, I have questions. Actually, I'm just when I was a PhD and a graduate student, I had to do some system, but the system is not similar to the prototype. However, if I want to go to such a corporation, I want to do some actual system. So how can I transfer this kind of thing? What kind of suggestions that you can give me?
Okay, pardon, if I'm understanding correctly, I was having a hard time hearing you. If I'm understanding correctly, you're trying to put together some prototypes?
Yeah, I just, in the school, I just developed some system that similar to the prototype. However,
Okay.
some companies, they develop some system that was actually have to many users to use the system. So there were some kind of difference between the prototype and actual system. So what if I want actually if I want to go to a company to answer engineering, IT engineering. So what kind of role transfer on these two?
I still don't know. Does anybody help me with the question? Because I'm hearing 2 or 3 things.
It just
I'm hearing you have a prototype and you're trying to show it to the IT engineering group, or you're trying to transition into IT engineering?
yeah.
That the last one?
Yeah.
So you want to transition? Oh, good luck with that. Because it's going to be tough as a UX professional, and having a PhD. What's your PhD in?
Just to review information science.
What position are you going to have if you go into that group? What type of position are you going after?
Maybe like programming, engineering.
I think in general, 2 things come to mind. One is you're going to have an easy time getting that type of position with a PhD because they welcome people like that, no matter who the company is. The challenge is going to be when you try to start bringing design thinking into it. It depends upon, we mentioned maturity levels. It depends upon the UX maturity level of the company. If their maturity level is, I think there's 5 different levels, if I remember correctly. If they're in level 2 or 3, there's not many at 4 and 5. So if you're at 2 or 3, you're not going to have a problem at all. If they have not done anything at all, if they're at 0 or 1, then get ready for the long haul. And you may actually, since UX is something that you would try to drive in the company, and it's not your core responsibility, I'd shelve it if I were you. Because if they don't have the maturity and you're trying to drive it, your time with that company might be like very short-lived, depending upon how hostile their engineers. And engineers have some of the worst levels of emotional intelligence in our economy. Quite frankly, they are some of the least amenable, cordial, respectful people you will ever meet. And people are going to see this on YouTube, and that's too bad. And they're not going to like it, and it's too bad. It's true. So nobody else says it, and I'm always willing to say it, and I take the heat for saying it. It's true. I don't care. Don't interview me. Don't hire me. I don't care. Get mad at me when I get back to Bosch next week. I don't care. It's true. And everybody knows it. Now, if you buck the trend, then thank God. But otherwise, it is. So you have to maneuver, and that's part of what I meant by being constructively passive. You really have to, another way to say that is learn to maneuver. Because you're not, if it ever comes up, hey, we need to start doing design thinking. Throw your hands up and be happy. You're ready to celebrate. Other than that, it's something you have to maneuver. Does that answer it? Did I get it? Okay. Yeah, you have to maneuver that, man. It's already tough for us that do UX. Companies that hired us to do UX, it's tough. Because there's always somebody that doesn't understand, and there's always somebody that doesn't want to understand. And that's where you run into your problems. Yes, ma'am.
Would you even consider telling someone like him with his background to go to a larger company that contains both the background he already has and the background he's looking for, so that at least he can get his foot in the door and then slowly try to work his way into that position?
And you just gave me a great idea too. I mentioned, I wish, I gotta give up the story to whoever's talking about. There is a, I think I can take 5 hours to Europe at 3:30, right?
I don't know because the schedule's been.
Yeah, the schedule will be, they started behind and puts us back, so 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, whenever.
Okay. I mentioned earlier how that companies are outperforming. Here she comes. Companies are outperforming, the design-led companies are outperforming their competitors. Find those companies. Connect with me. Get my information up here. Connect with me. I'll give you the chart. Those companies. And where do you live? Are you here?
Yeah, I'm just working here as a postdoc.
Willing to relocate? Willing to relocate? If Panasonic wants to hire you in Farmington Hills, Michigan, would you be willing to go?
Good year.
Okay. So we need to talk. I'll give you some information, give you some companies you can target. Companies like Honeywell, they're starting a huge world-class UX expansion of their team. They're located in Plymouth, Michigan, and they would love somebody like you, I'm sure. She said there's companies like that. That's a great point that she just made. Chase after those companies. These companies that are faking it, and you know who they are. Follow the jobs postings on LinkedIn so you can see the crazy companies. Mark them. I do. I tell people about them all the time. There's a bunch of them mad at me. Like I said, I don't care. It's, you know, you're not mad at you? It's probably not emotionally intelligent. Or you would have been introspective, you would have known that you're feeding people a bunch of on the market and you're hiring fraudulent UX practitioners. Somebody need to say it. Somebody will be. So, all right, guys, that's it. All right, thanks. Yes.
Yeah, it's actually, we're gonna start this project. Gives you a lot of tools. Yes. Yes. My grandkids, I could go. I could go here.
So you graduated, you might have come out in the same class. No, I graduated with that. You guys have an easy job. Because the school always likes it. It's very. As somebody in your shoes, or somebody's trying to gauge them, or somebody trying to confirm. It's like,
Yeah, I wanted to shift from one of
her part is transitioning, identifying a specialty, and transitioning. So if you like research, if you like interaction design, go for it. If you have all of this, no, I
would like to talk to you about this. Because I am very curious about it. Very curious about and you know, I've done some work for Sherman. One of his questions was all the different programs in the country. You know, they have all these different workshops and things, and they have a lot of them.
So, yeah, like, career development. Somebody posted the course.
Oh, yeah.
Very professional guy. It's like, just like he does for you.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, that's what they post it on that. Please, if you're gonna-
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
And then they try and teach you. Which happens more than I care to admit. Excuse me, sorry. That's me being clumsy, sorry.
Small. Started next part of there, so. And, internally. That helps. Budgets are always an issue, so I ended up doing a lot of update online, compared to what. We have to do. How are you? So like, we just want you to slap on the location. Like, no, we didn't do that. So how insights is like, so how we don't be going searching for.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's wrong. That's the way I
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right.
I'm Catherine. Nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you.
So, university.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Exciting.
Starting up culture, library operations.
Take this off and do that whole thing.
All healthy.
Then a black show. That's it. That's scary. I got an idea.
Library.
Okay.
I came over last night. I was like, it's gotta be something that.
Oh my God.
Coined that last night.
Just pulled it right out of the thing. And,
It's just, I don't know.
well, I come up with I just graduated
Told you I
in
was-
December, so I was looking at
Yeah,
the
I know.
information.
This is, I was on voice. Yeah.
I've been there just like, it was like,
Like it's fun. It's like family feud. Yeah. I couldn't do like a Steve Harvey impersonation.
Who could though?
Who could?
Okay, ask this question. Answer the question. Okay, so, you know, it takes the knowledge that you your chocolate, no, assistant, inputs and stuff, chocolate, if I ate a boost, that was so. It's okay, it's free, it's. I'm good, there's no razor blades or anything. No, take a break. I just figured it was the last session. No. Do what you can to keep people engaged, right?
yes, we need each other.
Good, take as many as you want, seriously. I don't want to take this home with 5-year-old. No, yeah, she loved it, but she doesn't need it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. John,
No, thank you.
nothing?
No, thank
Candy? Candy? Chocolate? Chocolate? No, sure. You help yourself. Get a little boost. Chocolate? No. Oh, yeah, see, something piqued your interest. Little kitty cat?
All right, you win, best presentation of the day.
Oh, wow.
The trick worked.
See, when you fill out that survey, just remember, presentation formal, but maybe. Okay. All right, well, there's more up here if anybody wants to. I think we're waiting. Are we waiting to get started or are we kind of behind?
Yeah, just to say, it's.
You guys are so far back. You want to come up a little bit? It's okay. I don't bite. I don't yell. I'm kind of soft-spoken. John knows me. He'll tell you. He'll vouch for me. Come on, you guys can do it up just a little bit, please.
Is it saying something like you're sitting in the back and you're saying the back part?
Well, you already know. He's letting someone else.
In our defense, we got you when the other class was still in here.
Yeah, I know. I'm just struggling a little bit.
Really eager to get started.
A little bit of a glove, so my voice is nice and obvious. If you don't want to, it's fine. We're good. Good, all right. These guys are ready. They got some candy, chocolate, and good. We need intros or anything, or just have at it? Are you
I'm just watching your screen.
good? Okay.
You're
All right, everyone's ready. We'll just go ahead and jump into it. All right. Well, thank you guys for sticking around. I know it's, I don't know, 65, 70 right now, so I appreciate you. I wasn't sure how many people we'd have sticking around, but thanks for sticking around. I'm hoping that you can get at least 1 or 2 nuggets that you take back home with you, that you can apply to your daily activities at work or personal projects. So I feel like I have a really good presentation for you. I have some live examples and a live demo of a couple tools that I use. So I'm hoping that you'll get at least a nugget or 2. So a little bit about myself, just so you have some context. My name is Todd Birch, and I am a IA, UI, UX fanatic. I've been doing this like Mark for about over 20 years. I'm a traditional graphic designer, so I look after you. I'm a graphic artist. And then I was able to jump on the bandwagon really early on. So when the internet first came out, which kind of dates me a little bit, I jumped on and I never got off. I love the user experience. That is, I own a business and I have a team of developers, content, digital marketing people, and designers, but I love that. So one of my roles, or a couple of my roles amongst many I involve, is I art direct, and I am kind of the lead for the user experience and conversion optimization. So some of the things I'm going to show you today are really very passionate things that I do on a daily basis or weekly basis. I worked with Mark at Insurance.com, internal marketing. I worked with John at an ad agency, and I started my own business, Evolve, which focuses on just the digital channel. So we focus on responsive web design and digital marketing, SEO, PPC, email, social media, all that good stuff. So that's a little bit about me. So I don't work. Did you laugh when I said this to you? So anytime that you can integrate M&M into a presentation, I feel like it's a good thing, especially to start off. Now, maybe you don't like it, but that's okay. But this is one of my favorite songs. When I work out, this is always on my fave list. I'm always thinking about, well, not always, but recently as I was kind of getting ready for this presentation, I'm listening to the song, especially the first few seconds of lyrics, and how it's very applicable to UI, UX, right? So for me and my team, and what we really focus on is the user. It's all about understanding that user. And as Mark said in his presentation, you have about 8 seconds, and if it's somebody's first visit to your website, you may have 3 or 4 seconds. You have to engage that user. You have to give them what they want, and you have to make it easy and accessible for them to complete the task, whatever that task may be. So if you're thinking, I know you're probably playing it in your head, M&M, right? So look, if you only had one shot, one opportunity, what would you do? Would you let it slip, or would you capitalize? So if, I don't know if you guys are, do we have any practitioners of UI, UX in here today? Handful of you? Okay. Any marketing people? Developers? Designers? Okay. All right, so you get it. I mean, it really is, it's all about the user. So everything that we do is trying to make that the best experience as possible. So don't lose yourself in UI, UX, but make it a good thing. If you were in my presentation last year, this is one of the slides that I had in there. This, if you leave today with anything from my presentation, please leave with this. This is kind of the mantra that we have at Evolve. I have these print off at my designers' tables. And really everybody in our business. And I know they're not anything revolutionary, but when you think about UI, UX, and really just the web in general, it doesn't really matter what discipline you're in. Never make assumptions. My team, we make assumptions all the time, and it drives me nuts. So I'm like, look, guys, what's going to happen when you make assumptions? You end up like the donkey, right? I don't know what his name is from Shrek, but anyhow. So. And I also recommend, like Mark mentioned in his presentation, Steve's book, Don't Make Me Think. For me, and this is on its second or third rendition, this came out almost 15 years ago. Most revolutionary book that's came out. I love that statement, one of my favorite statements. If you just think about whether you're a designer or a UI, UX person, or a developer, or a marketing person, you don't want to make the users think. If they're a consumer and they're trying to buy a product or go through this buyer's journey, you want to make it easy for them. What are they looking for? Download, to purchase a product? You want to get them through that funnel as quickly as possible. So don't make me think, never make assumptions. Really, really important, and something that we try to hammer home every day. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is really post-launch. So it's specific to websites, but this could be applicable to app design or software. And this could be applicable to somebody who's going through or getting ready to go through a website. You're like working internally for a company, internal marketing team. Obviously, I'm an agency, so we work with multiple clients. We usually don't have the luxury of having access to somebody's site prior to starting a new redesign for them. And quite honestly, a lot of times we don't even want to have access because the site is so old, the data is really poor. I don't want that to really kind of push us towards a direction that might not be the best direction. So a lot of what I'm going to show you today is post-launch. But we start off with building a great website, right? That's what, if you're in this business, whether you work internal or if you work for multiple clients like myself with an agency, we're trying to build the best website as possible. And you went through the process. Mark mentioned a lot of these steps. Looking at persona profiles. Who are you targeting? That is by far the number one thing. Learn as much about your demographics as possible and create those persona profiles. Card sorting, really important. Build a beautiful information information architecture for your website. Beautiful site map. Interactive wireframes. Tons of tools out there. You want to go through that process and build those out. You might even want to do some usability testing. If you have the time and the money, which it really isn't that expensive to just find a few people that fit the demographic, give them a $50 Starbucks card and have them to your office. It's not that hard. And then you can build some killer designs. John's designer, he builds some killer designs. And then you can do some solid development, and then you can do a lot of browser and device testing. So anyhow, to sum it up, you go through this process and you build a really great website. That's step one. And maybe you build an award-winning website. That's great, right? Awesome, congrats, woohoo! Everyone's excited. Client's excited, or the boss is excited. And that's great, but for me, I'm thinking about the user. So if we win an award, that's fine, the site looks great, but what's it doing? Is it solving the problems that we set out to do when we went through those 10 steps of card sorting, wires, design, and dev, user testing, and browser testing? So that's what I want to do. That's what I'm really curious about is step 2. Let's make it even better. That's the beautiful thing about website design. And being a traditional graphic designer, I started off with traditional means of marketing materials, print materials, things of that nature. And you don't really have the opportunity to make changes on the fly, watch somebody interact with it, and make changes. It's already printed. You've already spent thousands of dollars. Whereas a website, it's a living, breathing thing that's constantly changing, constantly evolving, which is one of the reasons why we need the business involved. Because in what we do, it is always changing. It should be. That's our job. That's our responsibility. So how do we make it better? That's what I'm always curious about. So the topic of this presentation was about going beyond Google Analytics. And Mark, so I'm basically taking kind of a section of Mark's presentation, if you sat in on that. Anybody use Google Analytics in here? Yeah, you like it? Think it's a worthwhile tool? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I'm not here to say Google's evil, Google sucks, don't use it. It's free. For free, it's one of the best tools out there, and almost everybody uses it. And yeah, there's competitors, so you're going to pay a premium to get those analytics. Now, what I found and experienced with most of our clients who are in their maybe late 30s to their late 40s don't really understand analytics. They think they understand it, but they want the information. They don't know anything about it. And even when we try to distill it down, they're still like, what? Sessions? Bounce rate? What is that all about? And when you really think about it, to me, and don't get me wrong, the analytics can be useful. But this is all very surface level stuff, high level, basic metrics. As a UI, UX person, I'm not really learning about Mark and how he went to our website and struggled with the navigation because we tried to make it cool and give it this wow factor. We didn't follow web standards. No, I'm just looking at time on page, how many pages were visited, what's the most popular page, who the home page, contact us. I mean, those are all good, but I want to dig a little bit deeper. So what I'm going to talk about today are two tools that we use and evolve. There are many other tools, and I'm not a sales rep. I don't do kickbacks, what have you. These are just the tools when I did my research and I vetted out. And I don't work for Highland Software. I don't have budgets with my clients for enterprise software. I have a lot of mid to small size clients. So I need to be able to provide them a service that makes sense for them in their budget. So these are the two tools that's important, that we use. The first one is Crazy. Has anyone used Crazy before? Just a couple of them? Good. All right. You might learn something or maybe be repetitive. I'll show you a few tips. The rest of you, great. This is going to be kind of a demo of Crazy. Crazy is awesome. It's not new. It's been around for almost 15 years. I've been using it for about 10. It is really cheap for what you get. For $10 a month, you can really get started. You can start to track visitors and learn about them. So what does it do? and this is straight from the website, but I thought it was great. It is. It's like kind of an X-ray comparison of glasses. You can really look in and say, okay, what is the user doing? Here's Google Analytics. Now I'm digging in a little bit deeper into the core. I'm seeing where are the pain points. How can I make this website even better? Some of the benefits of Crazy Egg, you get priceless insights. You learn a lot about the user behavior, right? Which in turn, if you're learning, you're making changes, and inherently you should increase user engagement. It will definitely speed up your user testing and analysis. So, and don't get me wrong, I love usability testing. I'm all about it. If you have the time and budget, and you can bring in 3 to 4 people, or even just gather some people in from the office that haven't been familiar with the project, bring them in, but also supplement it with something like this. You can get in front of hundreds of thousands of people and gather a lot of data really quickly and start to go through it very fast. What's also nice is you can use this to then present to your boss or your colleagues or a client, say, hey, it's time for a redesign. Look at all these pain points. You know, we're trying to have this person download a white paper or buy this product. They can't get through the contact form. There's a bounce rate of 80%. You can see the pain points. Let's make a change. Data doesn't lie. This is good data. And what's nice, and you'll start to see it, it's very visual. As against Google Analytics, which is a bunch of pies and charts and different things that really don't make sense, these are tangible items that people can kind of relate to and understand and get excited about. And then you can show your boss. We use it a lot to find pain points, present it to our clients and say, hey, we got your back. We're looking at your site. We built it. We didn't just let it go and say good luck. And we found some things. We're not perfect. We made some assumptions on our experience and what we learned about your business, but we found some ways to make it better. Here's some data. Let's go back and make it better. And then we do it, and we put Crazy Egg back on those pages for accountability to make sure what we did actually worked. That's what I love. That's better than reward. To be able to figure out, to be the sleuth and go through and say, I see an issue, let's make a change, put it back on, yes, it worked. I'm getting so many more conversions, or the user experience is so much better. That's our job as UI UXers. So I'm going to show you 5 types of reports that Crazy Egg has: heat map, scroll map, study map, elements overlay, and click list. All right, so the first one is a heat map. Everybody's probably seen these, Jacob Nielsen, the F pattern, very common. Don't use it. If you want to, you can. There's better reports. It's just okay visually. It doesn't really say a lot. That's just my personal opinion. So obviously, where it's lighter, there's more concentration of clicks. Where it's darker, less concentration. There are better reports, and I'll show you this. Next is a scroll map. This is pretty handy, and I'll show you some cases of how we used it. Basically, it just gives us an idea of how people are interacting with the page and have they actually scrolled all the way down the page. So as responsive has changed the way we do everything, good or bad, these tools become really important. So the trend today, I'm sure you've all experienced it, even on desktop, right? The pages of content are getting longer and longer and longer. And it's funny, being in this business so long, I remember 10, 15 years ago, I don't want any scrolling. All above the fold. No scrolling at all. Now that's all we're doing, scroll, swipe. But it's interesting, I watched hundreds, thousands of videos, and users, they don't like it. Even different age groups, demographics, they get it, because we're forced to. And we have these devices now, our phones and tablets, so once they get on desktop, they're just scrolling. But anyhow, so this is a report we can start to identify and say, okay, I have all this content, is it even worthwhile? Are people, do they care? Are they going all the way up and down the page? Because with Google Analytics, you can't find that out. You can say, wow, okay, on this particular page, the home page, the average time on page was about a minute and a half. That's great, okay? It doesn't tell us a whole lot, but we can start to gather a little more details in this. One tip, though, to keep in mind, if you have sticky navigation, You know what I'm talking about? So you have your main nav bar, but inside the content, you have navigation that kind of sticks and it anchors you down to certain sections on the page. It can be really helpful and useful in the right context. But with Crazy Egg, sometimes he chokes a little bit. He doesn't quite understand that. So the reports can get a little funky, I found. So just keep that in mind if you do have some sticky nav. All right, now into the meat and potatoes. Confetti reports. I mean, just picture me, it's, you know, kid's birthday, and I got, what do you call that thing? The shooter that shoots out the confetti. It's just, isn't that beautiful? These types of reports are what get people excited. Your boss, your manager, our clients, they love this. This is my website that I paid whatever, X amount of dollars for. I can see people are actually doing something. And look how many dots. Awesome. Confetti report. This is one of my favorites. Again, it's just a great visual. It's tangible. People understand it, relate to it, get excited about it. Similar to the heat map, but that's why I say this one's a little bit better. The different colors represent different types of clicks. And I'll go into more detail when I show you some live examples. So you can see up here this new versus returning. There's a drop-down menu of several different metrics. You can slice and dice and look at different types of users, which is pretty cool. And then the overlay reports, I'll just show you. I won't go into detail because it really doesn't make sense until I show you how to do it. But it's a good report too. It has basically all the elements on the page. You can see how many times each element was clicked. One tip with the overlay reports, and I'll show you an example, it does not export well. So Crazy Egg, you have the option of exporting. Some are good, some are bad. All right, and lastly is the click list report. Click list report. One of my favorites. Talk about the devil in the details. Not sexy, but at least stretching the meanings. This is where the meat is. This is where the meat is. This is where you really find out what people are doing. But you have to, you know, there's a lot of great tools out there, but if you don't understand how to use the tools or figure out what the data means, they're worthless. You know, these tools aren't hard to use or hard to implement. It's just a matter of taking the time to learn them. And I'm going to show you, a few things that will help you get through that. But yeah, I love the click list, and I'll show you some samples here. Anybody know what time we got started?
It's just after 30.
3:30? I want to make sure to get to my other tool as well. All right, so I want to show you some case studies real quick. So Metro Parks, Clients Parks, we just redesigned their website this past year, and it was interesting because we didn't have a lot of data to go on. The site was very old, so we didn't even really bother with their analytics. And we went off our experience, our guts, meeting with several different departments on their team to figure out, to learn more about the demographics. The one challenge with this type of organization, we've worked with a couple like these local government agencies, and like Mark said in his, it's all about really defining the target and trying to get as focused as you can. Well, this target audience is 16 to 70. Everybody can use the parks, so we really can't distinguish one from another. We have to facilitate everybody. And that's hard to do as a designer, as a developer, to try to make a website that works for everybody. So we did a 90-day report. We wanted to follow up with some analytics, some data, say, okay, did what we do work? The things that we decide on make sense. So I'm just going to show you some small things here. It's just interesting. So this is the home page right here. This is a section of the home page right under the hero area. We put together, we have this idea of kind of an infographic. Gives you, some icons and some numbers, some quick hits about the park. And we had some internal debates with our own team and with the client about these being clickable. We couldn't agree. So launch was coming up, we just launched with it. Interesting enough, looking at the data, look at how many people want to click on those, particularly these two icons, miles, trails, and parks, which makes sense. It's one of the first things they see once they get past the full line. And, it's talking about parks and trails, which happens to be one of the most popular things on the site. So this is just something that I love to see. We kind of talked about it, we didn't do it, now we take this back to them and say, you know what, maybe we should make this clickable, and what's the best place to link. So not a showstopper. People are still getting around the site, but obviously a lot of people clicking, and the expectation was for that to do something, and it didn't. This is another, what I call it, just kind of piecemeal, low-hanging fruit. So they have all these parks and trails, very long page. There's a ton of content on this page. So long, in fact, that we put in the sticky nav. So we have their main nav here, which gets them to the main sections of the site. And then once you get to this particular page, we broke it up into 4 quadrants. Some internal debates, again, and with the client, which one of these is the most important and what's the logical order. And like Sherry said in her presentation, and we've heard this before, even in your main nav, always put the most important things left to right. That's how we read it. It makes sense. So we have this park areas, which is general information about this particular park and trail, park map, history and wildlife, which apparently nobody cares about, unfortunately, that photo gallery. So it was pretty evident on desktop and mobile that the park maps was really the most important thing they want to see. So our recommendation going back to them is, hey guys, quick change. It's not going to affect a whole lot of development time. Let's just swap things. Let's make the first thing the maps. This is what most people want. Let's make it a better experience. So again, low-hanging fruit, small things, but these could make a difference in the overall user experience. So if we go back to this park page, and you remember that sticky nav, and they click, and they go down to the map. This is the map area. Maps in general, has anyone ever worked with Google Maps? Right, responsive on a phone, my God, please tell me if you found a solution for how to get a map to be a great experience on the phone. I'd love to hear it. I'll pay you as much as I got. It isn't much, but yeah, maps, gosh, maps are just really, the phone changed everything. It's such a small space. Give me a gutter on the side so I can move up and down and get out of that thing. Yeah, so sorry, I'm tangent, but maps in general are tough. So what we did here, this is desktop. So what we ended up doing was just having I call it a hero image, basically just a large PNG of a snapshot of the map. And then if you click out both on the map or up in the right-hand corner, it takes you to a PDF. Not a great experience, but for what we had to work with and budget and timeline, it worked. But what I thought was really interesting is going back through Crazy Data is seeing that people really want or expect this to be interactive. And they're clicking on specific points on the map. So our recommendation to them is, hey guys, if we have time and budget down the road, let's spend some time and maybe make these interactive. Maybe not through Google Maps, but maybe through some other tool. So just interesting to learn about users and how they behave. Okay. So now we go in a little bit deeper, different story. Anybody here work with Windows companies? Good. Okay. I will share their data. No, this is true. So anyhow, a little bit different. We work with an organization. There's not really a conversion point per se. You just want people to find the parks and trails, shelters, things of that nature. Overall good user experience. But once you get into a manufacturer and you have a product, then we're talking about conversions, right? We're talking about dollars, sales. So we use this tool a lot. We were able to early on convince the clients that, hey, we can make this better and we can help move the needle in conversions. So we're holding ourselves accountable and we're kind of presenting different ideas to the client through these tools. So we have a page here, which is one of the main conversion points on the site. To download this, we call it the Ultimate Windows Buyer's Guide. It's a great page. It's been very successful. A couple of key download buttons. We have those tracked through analytics, so we can see those are event clicks. But what we were trying to do here is, we added this, originally it was just a download. And then from an SEO perspective, we saw there were opportunities, so we ended up taking the information from the PDF, putting it on the site, so much information that we ended up putting it inside accordions. Everyone know what an accordion is? A fan or not? What do you guys think? Love them, hate them? Kind of a love-hate relationship? Yeah. I get that, totally get that. But I feel like there is a need for them, and they do work in the right context, particularly on mobile. So we're having some internal debate. It sounds like we debate a lot. We don't really, but we challenge ourselves. You know, should these be open? Should we even have accordions? You know, people are fine. We see they'll scroll for miles. And I'm like, yes, I see that, and you're right. But what you don't see, if I first approach this page, even on desktop, if I have this first one open, it's pushing everything down the page, and then so on and so forth. So I never, in a quick snapshot, see everything that's available. And that's what I love about Accordion. Because there are 10, these are the top 10 reasons to buy. If they're all open, they're down here, I'm not seeing it, and I never see it all together in context. So that's what I love about this, especially on mobile. So if I have these open up, I will never be able to figure out on a mobile phone that all these go together in that metadata. So I feel like it's really important and it works out really well. So kind of what I did was I took this data and I went back to my team and I said, look guys, I appreciate you challenging me here. People are interacting. They get it. It's okay. It's okay. So this is kind of where I use the data to my advantage. So these are the confetti mats we talked about. This here is the click list. So you can see here, these are the visible things on the page. So these are, you see, I don't know if you can see it, but they're numbered. So these are the 10 accordions. And that's another thing that you can't see in Google Analytics unless you, I guess you could put event tags on every single accordion. Be a pain in the butt, be a pain in the butt to pull a report. Well, it's crazy right away. I can see one, yes, lots of clicks. Two, I can start to see which ones are the most popular. What are people interested in? These are 10 topics. So obviously number one, because it probably is the first one, but then some of the others start to move up. You go to 4, then 3, then 5. So you start to learn about your users, not only their behaviors, but some of their interests, which in turn you could then utilize to your interest and maybe push out some new content. Right? Content curation, great way to develop some new content. Staying on with static windows, this is a really interesting case, and this ties into the next tool I'm going to talk about, which is Mouseflow. So we have another, what I would call conversion page. We have this kind of buyer's guide, and we have this window buying resource center, lots of downloads, 4 downloads. And we're doing some PPC, some pay-per-click buys on Facebook. Click-through rate, people get it. It's great, it's visual, in your feed, they're interested, boom, love it. Well, that's great, but what I realized, what I realized, oh yeah, this wasn't enough, crazy to get mouse flow, so I'm watching videos of people, and the bounce rate is phenomenal in a bad way. So I'm seeing all these people come in 3 to 5 seconds, they don't even scroll, swipe, nothing. And done. And done. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? This is a great page. This is meat and potatoes. Well, what I've learned over the past year, we're doing a lot with Facebook PPC, but I'm learning about that particular user. And we already know 90% is mobile, right? Facebook is almost all mobile. Is when you advertise on Facebook, the expectation of the user is a little bit different than other pay-per-click models. So they are expecting something very similar to what they just saw. So if you look at this, right, here's the pay-per-click ad, I'm on my phone, yeah, okay, Windows, great. I click, I go here. This is kind of the full, right, on a typical, maybe smaller phone. It doesn't, there's no relationship with it, other than maybe not even the headline is not even relevant. Bouncing. there's nothing visual, there's no connection. It just told me I'm gonna download something, I don't even see a download button. So for me, that's my responsibility, holding myself accountable, saying, wow, I'm spending money and I'm losing it. I have the interest. Step one, get them to click. Step two, get them to convert. It's not happening, at least on mobile Facebook. So through these tools, I was able to gather some data. Now we're in the process of going back to my team and saying, okay, we need to figure this out, guys. All right, going back to the dev team and saying, hey, we have this paragraph on desktop. That's fine on desktop. We need to kill it on mobile. Maybe even kill this H1 or format it a little differently. And let's move the content up, make it more visual, and maybe move the download button. So right off the bat, as soon as you hit that page, there's something there that connects you to what you just clicked on. So yet again, it's all about the users and their intent and their expectations. All right. So where are we at? We can spend a little bit more time. Crazy egg. What time did you go to? 4? Let me just show you some milestones here. If we have time or if you have the interest, we can go to more Crazy Egg. So Crazy Egg, great tool. Another tool that we use is Mouseflow. There are other similar tools. Mark mentioned T-Leaf, ClickTail. Basically, we're taking a recording of the user's experience. Awesome. I mean, my gosh, it doesn't get any better than that. You mean I can watch a video of somebody actually going through my website? I mean, that's cool. The one thing I love about Mouseflow is it's affordable. Unlike the other tools that Mark mentioned, I've vetted those out. They're expensive. My clients can't afford it. I can't afford it. Mouseflow, $100 a month. There's smaller packages. $100 a month. I can have 3 different website domains. I can see thousands of recordings within that month. Again, I don't get a kickback or anything, but it's a great tool. One of the best things we ever did. They've made huge advancements. They've been around. They're not for 10 minutes. Oh, geez, so much to share. All right. So it's recording sessions, and it's affordable and it works. Yeah, let's just go right into it. I just want to show you some. Okay, so here's Mouseflow. Very easy to set up. Your dev team, you give them a snippet of code, just like Crazy Egg. They put it in the right spot. Boom, it works. Really easy. And if anyone asks you, they don't slow down your site. We've tested it. I know I have the same concerns. I've used tools like this that I've seen a slowdown on the site. We don't want that. So yeah, these tools, at least for us, we have not seen a negative effect with slowing the site down. So I have recordings, and we won't go into some of these other things. They actually do have heat maps in this tool. I prefer Crazy Egg. Maybe you'll find that these helpful and have all in one tool. The heat map tool is a little slow. They have some other tools, funnels and forms. But I'm just going over basic session recordings today. This is enough meat and potatoes. So let's just go through this. So these are actual people that are going through the site. And what's really awesome is you can filter. So I can filter by all kinds of things. I can filter by browser type, visitor type, OS, the type of device, page count. Maybe I want to see people that have only visited 5 pages or 10 pages. I can also put in a particular page. I only want to watch visitors who have been to this page. And what I've done here is, so I have that page I was talking about, all those resources, those buying resources, and then I filter it down to the UTM source, which is the source for that campaign, which happens to be Facebook, PPC. Then you can highlight them here, so I've highlighted one, yeah, 6 seconds. Boom, don't like the pop-up. Nope, that didn't even want it. Done. Okay. That wasn't mobile.
That's crazy.
Oh, see how fast? What? What's wrong? You didn't like it? Replay. Done. I don't get it. You just sit here, you know, I'll sit on a Saturday night after the family goes to bed, get a little cocktail and just watch videos of users. How geeky is that? But it's like, I feel like it's like a kind of like a football coach, right? You got a team, you got tape, you're watching tape, so you're looking at your own players and how they've done, you're looking at your competitors. It is cool. I like to watch people and, you know, just kind of smile and see, once you click, just go right here. I pointed you for a reason. Wow. Why did you like it?
If it says no before, does that mean they just typed in the address?
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. You can also click on these if you want to see like the path of the person. You can just get rid of, so you can get rid of some of these tags. Let's check out this person here. 6 minutes in, 7 pages. I love I can just click and I can just start to, I love to see the flow. What's the flow? And Google Analytics has something like this, but it doesn't really work that well in my opinion. So for me, I love to be able to just see, I look for trends. So the end goal is to get somebody to sign up for a consultation. So like I want to look at the people that made it to that. Is there something that's similar? Is there a trend there that I can start to pull away and say, okay, if I can get them to page A, B, and C, the likelihood of them converting is very high. Let's do that. So that's what we're kind of looking for. It takes time. It takes time. And that's the one thing with both these tools. It's not really the cost, although time is money, right? But it really is just time. And if you work internally or work for an agency, build a case. These tools work. Trust me, I've been using them for a long time. Mousetrap for about 2 years. Crazy Egg for quite some time. We've made lots of changes that have helped the user experience and the bottom line. So let's just watch this one. So what's this person's experience? You can also speed it up. So if you really hit the end of your rope and you want to go to bed, just speed it up. You don't have time. So great, we're messing with the nav up here. We spent a lot of time to put that nav in. We also put this in. We thought it was a great idea. We tested this just to make sure are people actually clicking on it. Do they want this kind of mini photo gallery? Accordions. We put those in. Oh, it's not showing them. But you can see people are messing with the accordions. It's funny to watch people. So he's going to pull this stick back. Back and forth. There's that little sticky navigation. There's so much content. It's all open. Exciting, right? Trades. It is, trust me, when you find the pain points, it is exciting.
When you find the people.
Right. You have to watch, but it is trying to drill down. You can't just, you have to focus in and say, okay, here's a page. This is a funnel. What's the funnel? It came from a pay-per-click ad. They came to the product page. Are they using the drop-down? We put a lot of time in here because we saw, what's that?
I use my jar.
Yeah.
So I'm always watching people.
Same thing, yeah.
Sometimes frustrated.
Plus, if you want to go in there and put your hair out. You can also get all the specs on the person, browse them, where they're from, the IP address, even their ISP. You can also send these to a friend or colleague, which is kind of cool. The one disadvantage, the one kind of con with Mouseflow is download. So they don't have a mass download. It drives me nuts. It's all very manual. So you have to watch a video, download, watch a video, download. And then once you go through, basically it just keeps replenishing. So once you get new credits, all those videos are gone. And you get new. So there's really no archiving. So if you want to have some sort of archiving method, you got to do that. That's the one thing I'm hoping. I've seen in their forums that they're looking to change that. But right now, that's kind of a pain point for me. And there's really, there's not a lot. The exports, I can show you a sample here. So here's a Mouseflow So basically it gives you all the HTML. It doesn't look anything different. It's kind of cool. So you can basically just have this. So this is just, you can see the URL. This is just running locally on the machine. It gives you all the files.
I have a question about password.
Yeah.
Can you create accounts for your clients at the same time? It's like acting there's something to it. Or you have as a user.
It's a very good question. You want to talk about that? 'Cause we use it. We actually use it for multiple sites. We own the account and we use it because we have multiple plans. They never really asked for it. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know if you can do that. I know you can share the links, but can they actually go in? I mean, you could give them a good login. What you're saying? Could you? Because yeah, I don't know, because you can have multiple domains. I don't know if you can have an account with this domain, this client. They only see X. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I'll check into it. That'd be interesting. So yeah, Mouseflow, really cool. You spend way too much time just watching these videos, but you learn and you make the experience a lot better in the end. Crazy Egg.
For the question about the recording, did you have to stay open? But once they click on the open recording, keep the information there.
Oh, yeah.
And the next click you-
Yep. They have to engage it or another. Here's actual Crazy Egg. I'll show you here. So you can have, basically you can take a snapshot of a page. So it's kind of very static and linear. You don't have like a full-on video. You're really looking at information about a particular page. And then you can start to kind of go through the different snapshots or reports that we talked about. So this is AppleZoom did this last year as well. I thought this was, I was looking at it last night. So here's the clip report. And I was telling you about the drop-down menu. So these are the refers. If I just wanted to see how are people from Bing interacting with the site, I can just see those clicks. To be honest, I haven't really used that functionality a whole lot. I don't really see it be that helpful. I do like the new returning. So that was the first one I showed you that I liked. So if I just wanted to see people returning, what do they do? Theoretically, it could be a different experience, right? Somebody that's brand new to the site is like looking around, learning the navigation, trying to find their way. So yes, you have all these different ones. You can do it by campaign as well, search terms. So there's just a number of different ways to do that. But this, I want to make sure I show you guys this one thing. So bear with me. So the overlay. This is the one that doesn't download. You just can't download because it's interactive. So what happens here is, so you have the option of, this has to do with all the elements on the page. So you can show the live elements, other elements that aren't live, or both. And when you do that, it's really interesting to see what people click on. So there are elements that weren't clickable, were never meant to be clickable, that somebody is trying to click on. And you'd be surprised by what people want to click on. If there's an image, my God, they want to click on it. Whether it's sure or not, everybody is lazy. They just want to click on the first thing they see. So what I like about this is I can start to interact. So basically I can look at all these little nodes here and I say, okay, 13 people, why? Well, I can see it's, it does say something. What's new? I should be able to click on this. This little hero image. Nope, it's not clickable, but it's what people find should be. Tickets, absolutely. That's why we put it up there on the mobile, right above the full first thing you see outside of the logo. Hours, yeah, absolutely. It's why we put it there. New people wanted that. It's usability testing to make sure. The toggle menu, absolutely. People wanted to see that map. And what's interesting too is it's maybe sometimes too much data, but you can actually break down. Right, you have this button, but in that button there's text. There's a text label that they can click on. There's the hamburger. Then there's the whole thing. So it's kind of interesting to break down and see what people click on. My experience has been labels. People love labels. It makes sense. That's why we really harp on don't make me think. Put a label. It says menu. I had to harp on my designers about that. Just having the hamburger menu. The order demographic doesn't know what these 3 lines mean. It's just like 5 more pixels to put menu. It's not a big deal. Even the map. Yeah, icon kind of looks like a map. You know, I love icons and iconography. A lot of times they just don't make sense when they get small, hard to read. Put a label, text label. Bad vision, right? Or color blindness. So yeah, so you can start to learn a lot of different things with this report. Like I said, this is one report that's best used live on the site. So on Crazy Egg, if you download it, it's just flat and gives you the numbers. But let me just show you last thing here with this click list. So this is my favorite thing. So I'm going to click on both elements. So you can see the change there. You guys see that back there? A little bit better. So toggle menu. And I'm looking at the mobile, right? This is the home page of the zoo. Thousands of people hit this site, so we have a ton of data, which is great. I love that. When you have a ton of data, you can really start to learn. The toggle menu, right? That's the hamburger. Lots of clicks on that guy. Wild lights. This is something that's not visible. It's those doggone sliders. How many of you like the sliders? Big hero image, 2 arrows, some indication dots, slide left, slide back, hide content for users, and hopefully they unpack. John? Everybody wants it. Drives us nuts. We hate it. Drives us nuts. As a user, yeah. I don't know. It's just a lot of times you have these great messages or these great events. And if you don't interact, you never see it. And just from a coding perspective, usability, we've tried to make them really usable. But everybody wants them, so we're kind of stuck with them right now. But you can see here this wild lights was part of the slider, so you can go back and say, yeah, okay, people are swiping and they are clicking on those events and on that slider. One of the things that is just kind of a tip that makes it a little tough in data, I have to go back to so we have several buttons that might be called the same thing. So learn more or buy tickets, it might be down here, it might be up there. When you get to these kinds of reports, the overlay on the click list, you can see here, learn more. You might see it in another spot down here. Might be named the same thing. Maybe your developer didn't name the elements differently. So you just have to figure out which one actually has the clicks. So if you look at learn more here, 556 clicks. You go back to your overlay and look for the learn more. So I can see this was the learn more. So I'm basically matching up the number to what I just saw in the click list. So it's just a little tip, something I learned because oh my gosh, this is driving me nuts. I can't figure out which one this is. And sometimes the dev team isn't really great at labeling things. You know, arrow 1, arrow 2, arrow left, arrow right, and not really labeling it, just as arrow. So which one did they click on? So you have to kind of use the 2 reports in tandem, is what I found. But you can really glean some great information by doing it. So we have to do confetti, scroll map. Yeah, I think that's about everything. Yeah.
So how much historical data does it give you if I were to like sign up with my website today? Would it only give me data from starting today, or would it give me historical data?
As much as you want to pay for it.
Okay, so the $10 a month, it'll be
Right. So
certain.
it'll give you 10 snapshots. So if you did like your home page, if you didn't do any other snapshots, you can get basically 10,000 visits.
but it can't go back in time.
No,
That's
well,
true, okay, yeah, that's what I was.
Oh, no, because it's not on there.
Okay,
So basically, this is using the cookie sheet.
okay.
Which actually is a good point. If you do add any of these things to your site or Google Analytics, you need to update your time sections. So you should let users know that you are basically spying on them. There's standard language out there. You can go to our website, there's no privacy policy, and see it's just nothing to you as a lawyer per se, but it's, yeah, you basically want to let users know. Take a look. So yeah, again, I'm not trying to sell. We have this plus package, and we're working with multiple clients. We have about 45 snapshots right now. Let's see if I can find. So basically, I need about 5,000 visits. Is what I set my range to, depending on the website. After two, that could be 2 days. Another client, it could be 6 days to get to that point. So you can set the threshold by date or amount of visits. So you have a lot of control on how you use up your amount of snapshots or visits. Yes.
If there are login windows on a page, is there a way to like have it blur out the visitors in the recording?
Oh, on mouse flow.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe there is. I believe I read that. Yes, I believe so. I will check into that. I haven't had to do it, but I was doing a little research a couple weeks ago. I think I saw something. There was an option to check that. Yeah, you have to go into forums. The option for forums. Yeah, today is kind of weird that you can. I can see Joe Smith just filling out the form. Well, I can do it with it. Yeah, yeah. So I know that was a lot, jumped around a little bit, but again, 2 great tools. If anything, we're always still learning. We're always evolving. That's our job. That's our passion. If you take anything away, have to make assumptions. Be golden, guys. Be golden. If you don't have this book, pick it up today. Absolutely change your life. It'll help you through a little bit. So yeah, there's a link. I don't have a bunch of social stuff. I don't have time, but you can follow our business. Or hit me up on LinkedIn if you have any questions. I'll stick around for a little bit, or you can shoot me an email. I have business cards up here, some beautiful green pens, and some fun creative stickers that we created. So if you want some of that, and if you want some candy, any questions?
Yes, on mouse flow, it looked like there was heat maps on
Yeah.
that as well.
Yep.
Do you not like that, those heat maps as much as
I
Crazy?
don't. No, they're slow. I'm
Okay.
impatient. I don't have the time. I just get Crazy A. I can get a lot more data, so I like all the data they give. I like it all have that one spot package and also I just purely look at discussions. It is different how they present it. It is there are some different points that they show you in there. At least for me it did.
Okay.
But you could get by with that one tool. So, yeah, they both have made huge improvements this last year in the UI, which has been great. So, and big companies use Nostro. You see on the homepage, Microsoft, there's some, yeah, for the price, there's a lot of companies that use this. Not that that makes it worse for you, but and there's other tools out there. I think really the goal is just to say we need to continually work to make these websites as best as they can be and themselves. Yeah.
That green thing, how it is.
We don't actually, that is part of doing business for us. Is we believe in our products and make sure that it's going to be so that's just in kind. Some people appreciate it, some people don't. Yeah, but for us, it's really for us to make sure that what we put forth is very better. And usually there's something that does come up in business. The speed ever hit, I told them, I just hit the fence, right? Okay. Anything else? You guys ready to sign up for Crazy A? Refer me. Cool. Well, thanks again for sticking around.